Okay, so I would like to tell you about one of the adventures that I had in my life. These are just some of the things that happen to me on a regular basis, but this is how my life goes. It's called I Went Out with My Friend, and I went to the normal place that we usually hang out, and we had a good time, and then I went back to my house because I thought I was going to start crying, because sometimes, you just are having a good time, you break out in tears. And so she was like, let's go back to your house so that we don't do this in public again. And so I'm like, yeah, let's go back there. So we went back there and we were hanging out, and she talked me into going back out again because I went from crazy, normal to crazy, and then back to normal. And so in the normal stage of my life, I can go in public. And she was like, let's go back into public. And so I was going to go back into the public, and I decided that I was really excited to go into public and go see other people that I was going to be with in public. And I left my phone and I left my keys inside the house and locked the door from the inside out. So I was completely locked out of the house, and she was taking me back there. So we go back there, and the person that I was trying to see in public wasn't there. And that's also the person who was supposed to have the keys to my house, because it's called my roommate. And roommates have keys to the house that you live in. And so my roommate wasn't there. And I was like, well, obviously we have to go back to my house so I can go there and get in the house with the keys I don't have, because my roommate will be there. Well, so we go to my house. Hold on, this is driving. Okay. So we go to my house and pull in the driveway. Well, guess what? There's only one car there. It's called my car. And I didn't have keys to it or to the house. So I said, forget it, I'm going to wait on the porch. And so I was just hanging out, waiting on the porch, and then I fell asleep. And when I fell asleep on a wooden piece of an arm from some furniture, and it was uncomfortable, but I was still sleeping. And then my roommate came home and didn't know I was sleeping on the front porch, and so I just continued to sleep there and be locked out of the house till I woke up. And it was dark, and I was very cold because it was frighteningly frigid that evening. And so I went and knocked on the back door, and the dogs were barking, but they knew it was me, so they didn't really bark very loud. And I didn't want the neighbors to wake up and be like, oh, look at that girl banging on the door in the middle of the night. And so I was like, well, don't knock anymore, but I had to pee. And so since I had to pee and I couldn't get in the house, guess where I had to go? And so instead of going into the grass because there's dew on it and my feet were cold and I didn't want them to get wet, I just peed on the sidewalk like a boy with a big giant puddle of pee on the concrete. And then I walked away from it and was really sad that I had to do that. But then I remembered that there could be a car that was unlocked, and called my roommate's car. And so I got into it in the back seat of it because that's warmer than the outside in the elements. And so I pushed some old dirty clothes together and I made a pillow. And I put my head down upon it and I slept in the car until the light came because the sun had come about. And then I woke up and the car was all steamed up from my breathing. And I got out of the car and I started to bang on the back door. My roommate came to the door and was like, who is it? And I was like, it's me, your roommate. And so he opened the door and he was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, trying to get in the house. I started crying. I'm not going to lie. I was crying. I was like, I had to sleep on the porch. And part of the time I slept in the car. And I peed on the concrete sidewalk. And had a big giant confession there, right there in the back door. And so here's the kicker. While I was sleeping on the wooden furniture, I got a bug bite. And the bug bite is located on the very topmost part of the upperest top of my bottom's crack. And it's a mosquito bite. And do you even understand what that's like? It's like a torture that I don't even deserve. So I'm trying not to touch it. That's my story about camping and what I had to deal with. Thank you.